Imagine standing in a room full of people cheering for your downfall, and the one leading the charge is your own mother. At my brother's lavish wedding party on a Miami yacht, she raised a gilded frame high, announcing to 200 guests that my $750,000 beachfront villa, the one I'd poured my soul into for 12 years, was now a gift for my brother Nathan. By the time the sun rose 2 days later, every trace of my family's grip on my life had vanished forever. I'm Ethan, 38, and if you've ever felt betrayed by those you trusted most, this story is for you. The scene was like something out of a movie, but the script was a nightmare written just for me. The yacht bobbed gently in Miami's Biscayne Bay, its deck awash in golden light from chandeliers, the air thick with jazz and the clink of champagne flutes. My brother Nathan, all smiles, stood arm in arm with his bride, Lily, their faces glowing not just from love but from the ring lights capturing every moment for her Instagram empire. My mother, Patricia, was in her element, commanding the crowd like a seasoned actress. With a single tap of her fork against a glass, the chatter died and all eyes turned to her. She thrived on this, her stage, her spotlight. "Dear friends," she began, her voice dripping with theatrical warmth, "we're here to celebrate Nathan and Lily's new chapter." The crowd cooed, oblivious to the storm brewing in my chest. My father, Harold, stepped forward, holding a garish gold frame that gleamed under the yacht's lights. Together, they unveiled a property contract, my villa's contract, blown up for all to see. My heart didn't just race, it slammed against my ribs like a trapped animal. I didn't need to read the fine print to know what it was. That villa, my sanctuary, was being stolen in front of a cheering audience, and I was expected to smile through it. The Miami night was electric, the kind of evening where the ocean breeze carries the promise of something unforgettable. But for me, Ethan, standing on that yacht in Biscayne Bay, it was the prelude to a betrayal I'd never see coming. The deck was a glittering stage, chandeliers casting golden flecks across the polished wood, jazz notes weaving through the laughter of 200 guests dressed in their finest. My brother Nathan, the golden boy, stood at the center of it all, his arm draped around Lily, his new bride. She was radiant, her smile curated for the Instagram live feed broadcasting every moment to her thousands of followers. Ring lights glowed like halos, capturing their perfect moment, while I stood on the sidelines, my chest tightening with a sense of dread I couldn't yet name. The crowd was a mix of Nathan's tech bro friends, Lily's influencer posse, and our family's old money acquaintances, all sipping overpriced champagne I'd likely paid for through the emergency funds I'd been wiring my parents for years. My mother, Patricia, was the maestro of this orchestrated chaos. She moved through the crowd with the grace of a queen, her silk dress catching the light as she exchanged air kisses and knowing smiles. She'd always had a knack for commanding a room, her voice a velvet weapon that could silence a crowd or slice through your defenses. Tonight, she was in her element, her eyes gleaming with a purpose that made my skin prickle. My father, Harold, hovered nearby, his presence quieter but no less calculated, his whiskey glass a constant prop in his hand. As the jazz band paused, Patricia raised her fork and tapped it against her glass, the chime cutting through the chatter like a guillotine. "Dear friends," she said, her voice a mix of warmth and authority, "tonight is about family, about new beginnings." The crowd hushed, leaning in, hanging on her every word. Nathan and Lily beamed, their hands clasped, the picture of a couple stepping into a fairy tale future. I shifted uncomfortably, my tie suddenly too tight, my club soda turning flat in my grip. "We're here to celebrate Nathan and Lily," Patricia continued, pausing for the obligatory applause that rippled through the crowd. "And as a family, we wanted to give them more than just a toast. We wanted to give them a foundation, a home to build their dreams." Harold stepped forward, his face smug as he held up that garish gold frame, its edges glinting like a warning. The crowd gasped as he and Patricia unveiled the document inside, a blown-up property contract projected on a massive screen behind them for all to see. My breath caught, my vision narrowing to that single piece of paper. It wasn't just any contract, it was the deed to my villa, the beachfront haven I'd bought with 12 years of sweat as a software engineer. Every late night and missed vacation poured into that $750,000 dream. The words, "A gift from all of us," echoed in my ears. A lie so bold, it felt like a physical blow. The crowd erupted in cheers, glasses raised. While Nathan and Lily played their parts perfectly, his jaw dropped in mock surprise, her eyes brimming with curated tears. I stood frozen, the yacht's gentle sway suddenly feeling like the ground collapsing beneath me. They weren't just celebrating a wedding, they were staging my execution. The jazz band's final notes dissolved into the humid Miami night, but the air on the yacht grew thick, pressing against me like a storm ready to burst. My mother, Patricia, stood at the heart of the deck, her silk dress catching the chandelier's golden light as she raised a gilded frame high above her head. "Tonight," she proclaimed, her voice a blend of maternal warmth and calculated triumph, "we give Nathan and Lily not just a gift, but a legacy, a home to build their dreams." The crowd of 200 guests, a mix of tech elites, influencers, and family friends, leaned forward, their eyes fixed on her. Behind her, a massive screen flickered to life, projecting a blown-up property contract in stark, undeniable detail. My stomach plummeted. It was the deed to my $750,000 beachfront villa in Miami, the one I'd poured 12 years of my life into as a software engineer. Every late night and sacrificed vacation etched into its walls. I didn't need to step closer to confirm it. The Miami-Dade County Clerk's seal, the precise legal formatting, the address of my villa. It was all seared into my memory from the day I signed those papers. My proudest moment now twisted into a public betrayal. My heart didn't just race, it slammed against my ribs, each beat a wave of cold dread. Patricia's voice swelled. "A gift from all of us." The lie was so bold it felt like a physical blow, and the crowd erupted, their cheers a deafening roar that drowned out my world. Nathan, my brother, played his role to perfection, his jaw dropping in mock surprise while Lily clung to his arm, her tears glistening for the Instagram live feed, capturing every second. The guests raised their champagne flutes, toasting a family sacrifice that wasn't theirs to make. I moved through the crowd like a ghost, my legs carrying me toward the screen as if drawn by some cruel magnet. My hands shook as I stared at the document. My name, my address, the legal description of the villa I'd built my life around. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was a spectacle, choreographed to strip me bare. The screen loomed larger, the contract's text mocking me in crisp, oversized font. Patricia's final words, "Welcome home, Nathan and Lily," sent the crowd into another frenzy. Their applause a knife twisting deeper. I felt the air vanish from my lungs, my vision narrowing to that obscene gold frame and the screen amplifying my loss. This wasn't a wedding gift. It was grand larceny, wrapped in lies and celebrated by a crowd too drunk on champagne to see the truth. My life's work, my sanctuary, was being stolen in front of me, and I was expected to stand there and clap. The cheers still echoed across the yacht's deck, a cruel soundtrack to the theft of my $750,000 villa. broadcast in high definition for all to see. My mother's voice, dripping with false pride, lingered in the air as the crowd toasted Nathan and Lily's new home. My home. My blood roared in my ears, each pulse a mix of rage and disbelief. But something colder, sharper, was taking root. I stood frozen for a moment, the gilded frame and its damning contract burning into my vision. Then I felt a presence at my side. My father, Harold, his whiskey breath hot against my ear. 15 days, Ethan, he whispered, his voice low and laced with menace. Pack up and leave quietly. Don't embarrass the family in front of Nathan's new life. His words weren't a request. They were a command, delivered with the smug certainty of a man who thought he'd already won. I turned to face him, my eyes meeting his without flinching. For the first time in my 38 years, I saw him not as my father, but as a predator who'd mistaken me for prey. The rage inside me didn't explode. It crystallized, sharp and unyielding. I forced a smile, cold as the ocean beneath us, and leaned in close. 24 hours is enough, I said, my voice so quiet it cut through his arrogance like a blade. His smug grin faltered, a flicker of unease crossing his face, like an animal sensing a trap. Before he could respond, I turned and walked away, my steps deliberate, weaving through the oblivious crowd. The yacht's lights blurred as I moved, their golden glow no match for the fire igniting inside me. I stepped off the deck and into the cool Miami night, the sound of the party fading behind me. The moment I slid into my car and shut the door, the mask I'd worn all evening shattered. My hands shook, not from fear, but from the raw energy of a decision made. I pulled out my phone, my thumb steady as it found the contact labeled simply Sophia. The line rang once before she answered, her voice crisp and ready. Sophia, it's Ethan, I said, my tone calm but ironclad. They did it. They took the bait. It's happening tonight. Activate Plan X. A brief silence followed, then her response came, sharp and confident. Understood, Ethan. The pieces are in place. Go dark and get some rest. We've got this. I hung up, started the engine, and pulled away from the marina without a glance back. They were still on that yacht, clinking glasses, celebrating their victory, believing they'd finally broken me. They thought I was the same Ethan who'd always bent, always given in, but they didn't know the board had changed. This wasn't their game anymore. It was mine, and I held all the pieces. As I drove into the night, a strange calm settled over me, like the quiet before a storm. Plan X wasn't just a counterattack. It was a reckoning, and I was ready to watch their world collapse. The Miami skyline faded in my rearview mirror as I drove away from the yacht, but the weight of the betrayal clung to me like damp ocean air. That gilded frame, my villa's deed, wasn't just a theft. It was the culmination of 24 months of my family draining me dry. To understand why I was ready to unleash Plan X, you need to know the slow, suffocating bleed of those 2 years. It started with a knock on my villa's door one stormy evening. My brother Nathan stood there, soaked, with Lily shivering theatrically behind him. Their story was a well-rehearsed sob. Evicted by a ruthless landlord, nowhere to go, just needing a place for a few weeks tops. I let them in, thinking family helps family. That was my first mistake. They didn't just move into my Miami beachfront villa, they colonized it. By week 3, Lily's influencer gear, ring lights, tripods, crates of skincare products sprawled across my minimalist living room. Nathan's gaming setup, complete with a garish neon chair, took over my study. My sanctuary, built with 12 years of 80-hour weeks as a software engineer, became their personal stage, The financial hits came fast and relentless. "Hey bro, can you cover groceries? I'll pay you back next week," Nathan would say, but next week never came. Then it was their car payment, Lily's business expenses, even a $5,000 emergency for their dog's surgery. I was wiring money to my parents too, $120,000 to save their condo from foreclosure, $50,000 for my sister Chloe's grad school that she never attended. My bank account was a sieve, and they were the leak. It wasn't just money, they consumed my peace. I'd come home exhausted to find strangers partying in my villa, Nathan's crypto buddies spilling wine on my hardwood floors, Lily filming TikToks in my bedroom. "We're thinking of opening this wall for a better vibe," she'd muse, as if my home was her Pinterest board. I confronted Nathan once, my voice tight. "This is my house, not a nightclub." He laughed, slapping my shoulder. "Chill, Ethan. You've got this sweet place. Share the wealth, man." Share the wealth. That was their mantra, echoed by my parents, Patricia and Harold, who'd been bleeding me since I was a teen. At 16, I handed over $3,000 from my summer job for their investment in a non-existent yacht charter. "It's just money, Ethan," Patricia would say. "Family comes first." The wedding announcement was the tipping point. The moment Lily's ultrasound hit Instagram, my villa wasn't mine anymore. It was the couple's future. My parents' calls became relentless. "Nathan needs stability, Ethan. You're the successful one. It's your duty." Chloe chimed in, her voice dripping with pity. "Don't be selfish. It's for their family." Selfish. The word stung, but it also woke me up. I wasn't a brother or a son to them. I was an ATM, a resource to be mined until I ran dry. Those 24 months weren't just a drain. They were a calculated siege, and that night on the yacht was their final assault. But I wasn't the same Ethan anymore. I was done being their victim. The Miami night swallowed my car as I drove away from the yacht, the sting of betrayal still burning in my chest. That gilded frame flaunting my stolen villa wasn't just a public humiliation. It was the final straw in a 24-month war my family had waged against me. But I wasn't their pawn anymore. The moment I hung up with Sophia Lane, my lawyer, Plan X roared to life, a machine of cold, calculated justice. I'd spent weeks building this counterattack, and now it was time to set the trap. It started with a phone call to Sophia, a property fraud attorney whose name topped every legal forum in Florida. I reached her on a rainy morning, laying out the raw truth. Nathan and Lily's invasion of my villa, the $120,000 loaned to my parents, the $50,000 for Chloe's phantom degree, and the relentless pressure to surrender my home. "Ethan," she said, her voice sharp as a blade, "they've been bleeding you dry for years. This isn't family, it's a syndicate. Let them make their move. A forged deed is a felony, and we'll catch them red-handed." Her words flipped a switch in me. My tolerance for their games, once infinite, was now a burning fuse. The plan was surgical. First, I installed pinhole cameras in my villa, hidden in a smoke detector above my study safe, where I kept old financial records. Those records, including a tax return with my bold, unmistakable signature, were the perfect bait. Sophia predicted they'd jump at a physical signature, thinking it more legit than a digital forgery. I played my part, acting like the beaten-down brother they knew. I'd come home from work, nod curtly at Nathan's smug grin, and retreat to my room, letting them think I was breaking. But at night, I was a strategist. I tested audio feeds, secured cloud backups, and ran through contingencies with Sophia over encrypted calls. Each step felt like forging a weapon, my villa transforming from a battlefield into a trap. To spring it, I announced a mandatory work trip at dinner, groaning about a tech conference in Orlando. Sounds brutal, Patricia said, her sympathy as fake as her designer handbag, likely bought with my money. But it's good for your career, dear. I nodded, playing the exhausted drone, and left the safe's door slightly ajar, the tax return folder in plain sight. I didn't go to Orlando. I checked into a nondescript hotel in downtown Miami, my laptop open to the live camera feed, my heart steady with purpose. They thought they were winning, but I was waiting, patient, silent, and ready to turn their greed against them. The hotel room in downtown Miami was sterile, its silence broken only by the hum of my laptop as I watched the live feed from my villa's hidden cameras. The betrayal on that yacht, my $750,000 home, gifted away in a gilded frame, had lit a fire in me. But now, as I sat in the glow of the screen, that fire was cold, focused, and lethal. Plan X, crafted with my lawyer Sophia Lane, was in motion, and my family was about to walk straight into the trap I'd set. For 24 months, they'd treated my villa as their playground, my bank account as their piggy bank. Now, every second of their arrogance was being recorded, and I was ready to watch their empire crumble. The first night was agonizingly slow. The camera in my study showed Nathan sprawled on my couch, playing video games, while Lily filmed another Instagram reel, her voice grating as she gushed about our new vibe. My mother, Patricia, watered her overpriced orchids, bought with my money, oblivious to the lens capturing her every move. Doubt crept in. What if I'd misjudged them? What if they were just selfish, not criminal? Then, at 11:42 p.m. on Saturday, the study camera flared to life. Patricia slipped into the room, her movements swift and deliberate, like a thief in her own son's home. She didn't hesitate. She went straight to the safe, its door left temptingly ajar, and pulled out the folder labeled tax records. Her fingers moved with precision, smoothing out my 2018 return, my signature bold on the page. Her phone's flash lit up the room like a damning spotlight as she snapped 3 photos, ensuring the signature was crystal clear. She slid the folder back, closed the safe, and left as if nothing had happened. My heart pounded not with anger, but with a hollow certainty. I saved the file, encrypted it, and sent Sophia a text. We have the signature. An hour later, the living room camera picked up a conversation that sealed their fate. Harold and Nathan sat with my best bourbon, their voices thick with smug triumph. Your mother's a genius, Harold said, swirling his glass. Got it clean, sent it to our guy, Vince. Vince, their shady lawyer, was already drafting the forged deed, backdated for plausibility. So, it's mine? Nathan asked, greed dripping from his words. The villa, the view, everything. Harold chuckled. Mortgage stays in Ethan's name for now. Let him keep paying. The deed's what matters. You're the king now. They clinked glasses, toasting my downfall, unaware that every word was being recorded, every syllable another nail in their coffin. I leaned back, the laptop's glow painting my face, and felt the trap snap shut. The Miami night air was thick with salt and betrayal as I stood on the yacht's deck, the echoes of my family's toast to Nathan and Lily's new home still ringing in my ears. That gilded frame flaunting my stolen $750,000 villa wasn't just a theft. It was a declaration of war. The crowd's cheers faded as I gripped my club soda, the cold glass grounding me against the rage threatening to boil over. My mother, Patricia, basked in her moment, her smile a mask of triumph, while Nathan and Lily played their roles, soaking up the applause. But I wasn't the broken brother they expected. Hidden in my pocket, a smart pen recorded every sound, its tiny microphone a secret weapon ready to capture their final mistake. My father, Harold, moved toward me, his whiskey-soaked breath a familiar venom. He leaned in, his voice a low growl meant only for me. 15 days, Ethan, he hissed, his eyes glinting with smug certainty. Clear out quietly. Don't ruin Nathan's big day with your drama. The threat was a dagger, meant to cut me down to the compliant son they'd always manipulated, but I was done playing their game. I met his gaze, my face a mask of ice, and leaned in closer. 24 hours is enough, I said, my voice so calm it sliced through his arrogance like a scalpel. His eyes widened, a flicker of confusion breaking his composure, but I didn't give him a chance to respond. I turned, my steps deliberate, cutting through the crowd like a blade through silk. The yacht's golden lights blurred as I moved, the chatter and jazz fading into a dull roar. I reached the gangway, the cool night air hitting my face as I stepped onto the dock. My pen had caught it all. Harold's threat, the crowd's oblivious cheers, the smug undertone of their victory lap. As I slid into my car, the door's click was like a cage unlocking. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text to Sophia Lane. "We have the threat. Go." Her reply was instant. "Plan X is live. Stay dark." I turned off my phone, the engine's hum the only sound as I pulled away from the marina. They were still on that yacht, toasting their checkmate, believing they'd won. They didn't know I'd rewritten the rules. My words, Trochoy Kukak Nguida Kithuk, weren't just a goodbye. They were a promise. The trap was set, and their world was about to implode. The Miami marina faded into the distance as I drove away from the yacht, the weight of Harold's whispered threat and the yacht's gilded betrayal still heavy in my chest. My smart pen's recording of his words, 15 days, Ethan, don't ruin Nathan's day, was a ticking bomb, but it wasn't the only one. Plan X was in motion, my lawyer Sophia Lane orchestrating the counterstrike. But a new, sharper sting of betrayal was about to cut deeper. My sister Chloe, the one I'd trusted most, had been hiding a secret that would make the family's scheme look like child's play. As I sat in my hotel room, the laptop's glow illuminating the encrypted files from my villa's cameras, a text from my accountant flashed across my screen. Urgent. $200,000 withdrawn from your savings last month. Suspect unauthorized access. My heart sank, not with shock, but with a sickening clarity. I called Sophia immediately, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Check my account logs," I said. "Someone's been inside." Within hours, her team traced the transactions. The digital trail led straight to Chloe, my little sister, who I'd paid $50,000 for her grad school and countless other emergencies, had sold my banking details to Nathan for a cut of the profits. She'd handed him the keys to my financial life, letting him and Lily siphon $200,000 to fund their lavish wedding and influencer lifestyle. The evidence was brutal. Screenshots of Chloe's text to Nathan promising easy access to my accounts, and bank records showing transfers to their joint account, all time-stamped weeks before the yacht party. Each document was another knife in my back, proof that even my closest ally had turned traitor. I leaned back in the hotel chair, the Miami skyline a blur through the window. Chloe's betrayal wasn't just greed, it was personal. She'd sat across from me at family dinners, begging for my help, knowing she was selling me out. The pain was raw, but it fueled me. I forwarded the financial records to Sophia, who added them to our growing arsenal. "This is dynamite," she said, her voice crackling with anticipation. "It's not just fraud now, it's conspiracy and theft across the board." The family thought they'd cornered me with their forged deed, but Chloe's double-cross was the final piece of their undoing. It wasn't enough for them to take my villa. They'd tried to gut my entire life. As I saved the evidence to our secure server, my resolve hardened. Plan X wasn't just about reclaiming my home. It was about exposing every lie, every traitor, and burning their schemes to the ground. The Miami hotel room was a fortress of silence. My laptop's glow casting shadows as I reviewed the evidence. Camera footage of Patricia stealing my signature, audio of Harold and Nathan plotting, and now Chloe's betrayal. $200,000 siphoned from my accounts. The yacht party's betrayal was no longer just a family scheme. It was a full-blown conspiracy, and I was done hiding in the shadows. Sophia Lane, my lawyer, had everything she needed for Plan X, but I wanted more than a quiet victory. They'd humiliated me in front of 200 guests. Now it was my turn to turn the spotlight on them. I told Sophia, "Let's go public. I want the world to see who they really are." Her response was a low, approving hum. "A press conference, Ethan. We'll make it a spectacle they can't escape." 2 days after the yacht party, I stood at a podium in a downtown Miami conference center, the room packed with local reporters, bloggers, and curious onlookers. Cameras flashed, their lenses hungry for the story I was about to unleash. My voice was steady, each word a calculated strike. "My family tried to steal my $750,000 villa," I began, "and they thought they could bury me in their lies." I gestured to the screen behind me, where Sophia's team projected the evidence. Crystal clear footage of Patricia photographing my tax return. The damning audio of Harold and Nathan toasting their foolproof plan. And bank records exposing Chloe's $200,000 theft. The room gasped, murmurs rippling through the crowd as the truth unfolded in vivid detail. Outside, reporters swarmed Patricia, Harold, Nathan, and Lily as they tried to flee the building. Patricia's theatrical poise crumbled. She stammered, her face pale, as microphones thrust toward her. "It was a misunderstanding," she cried, but the cameras didn't blink. Nathan, red-faced, shouted about suing me for defamation, but his threats fell flat. Sophia had already filed our lawsuit, and the evidence was airtight. Lily, clutching her phone, seemed more concerned about her Instagram followers than the felony charges looming. Harold stood silent, his whiskey-fueled bravado gone, a man watching his empire collapse in real time. The press conference wasn't just a reveal, it was a public execution of their lies, broadcast live to thousands online. Social media exploded, hashtags like Villa Betrayal trending as strangers dissected their greed. I walked away from the podium, my heart pounding with a strange mix of triumph and exhaustion. They'd tried to make me invisible. Now the world saw them for the predators they were. The Miami press conference was still trending. The hashtags Villa Betrayal and Family Fraud lighting up social media as clips of my family's stunned faces looped online. The evidence: Patricia's stolen signature, Harold and Nathan's smug conspiracy, Chloe's $200,000 theft, had turned their carefully curated facade into a public spectacle of disgrace. In my hotel room, the glow of my laptop screen now felt like a victory torch, but the real work of Plan X was just beginning. Sophia Lane, my lawyer, was a general in a war I'd been losing for years, and she was about to bring the hammer down. "They're cornered," she told me over the phone, her voice brimming with controlled glee. "The evidence is a guillotine, and they've got no defense." At dawn the next day, Sophia's team executed the final phase. 2 unmarked vans pulled up to my beachfront villa, led by Maria, a paralegal with a reputation for surgical precision. Armed with a court-issued injunction, they gained access from the property manager, who'd grown tired of Nathan and Lily's entitled complaints. The team moved like a special ops unit. Nathan and Lily's belongings, ring lights, gaming consoles, crates of influencer swag, were swept into industrial bags, their tacky furniture dismantled with ruthless efficiency. My possessions, from books to laptops, were carefully packed per my inventory, treated with the respect they'd never shown my home. By 8 a.m., a locksmith had replaced the villa's locks, rendering their keys useless. A forensic photographer documented every step: the scuff marks from their furniture, the sticky residue of Lily's decals, a catalog of their disrespect. Sophia's email hit their inboxes at 9 a.m. A digital bomb titled Urgent Legal Notice. It outlined the civil lawsuit, fraud, conspiracy, and damages for the forged deed, the $200,000 theft, and the emotional toll of their betrayal. A temporary restraining order barred them from contacting me, with jail time for violations. The evidence file, videos, audio, bank records, was a hyperlink they couldn't resist. I imagined them clicking, their faces draining as they saw Patricia's theft, Nathan's greed, Chloe's texts. The email ended with a warning. The district attorney had the file, and felony charges were imminent. By noon, their belongings were dumped on Lily's parents' lawn in suburban Coral Gables, a humiliating display for the neighbors. Nathan and Lily's marriage cracked under the strain. Their divorce papers filed weeks later. Patricia and Harold, bankrupted by legal fees, sold their condo to cover the civil settlement. The DA pushed for convictions, and with no way out, they faced years of probation and community service. Their legacy wasn't a villa, it was ruin, and I'd made sure the world knew it. The Miami sun rose over a city that no longer felt like a battlefield. The press conference, the viral hashtags, and Sophia Lane's legal guillotine had dismantled my family's empire of lies. Patricia, Harold, Nathan, Lily, and Chloe were now footnotes in a story I'd rewritten, their names tied to felony charges and a public fall from grace. My $750,000 villa was mine again, but it felt hollow, a monument to years of betrayal. I sold it within a week to a young couple, their eyes bright with dreams I no longer recognized. The money went into safe investments, and I moved to a modest Key West cottage, its quiet simplicity a balm to my battered soul. There, in the soft hum of a new life, I began to rebuild. I met Emma at a local art market, her hands smudged with paint, her laughter as vibrant as the canvases she sold. She was a painter, her world alive with color and possibility, and she saw me, not the broken man my family had left behind, but someone worth knowing. Our first date was on a Key West beach, the sunset painting the sky as we talked about art, dreams, and the way the ocean heals. When I told her my story under the glow of a lantern-lit pier, she didn't recoil. "You built a life out of that wreckage," she said, her eyes steady. "That's strength." With Emma, I found a home not in a place, but in a person. We married a year later, and our son Noah arrived soon after, his giggles filling our cottage with a joy I'd never thought possible. A month after Noah's birth, a letter arrived, the handwriting unmistakably Patricia's. No return address, just a single sentence on cheap paper. "I hope your son never knows the pain you endured." It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest she'd ever come. A flicker of guilt from a woman who'd orchestrated my ruin. I didn't respond. I tucked the letter into a drawer and closed it, choosing my family, Emma, and Noah over the ghosts of my past. My silence wasn't weakness anymore. It was peace. Life now is the sound of Noah's laughter, Emma's paintbrush on canvas, the waves outside our window, Our baby shower, held in our overgrown backyard, was a quiet contrast to Nathan's yacht spectacle. Just Emma's warm family, a few friends, and my cousin Ryan, now Noah's godfather, free from the family's toxic pull. The lesson I've learned is simple but hard won. Set boundaries, protect your worth, and choose who deserves your energy. Life is too short to be an ATM for someone else's dreams. Build your own. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, and don't be afraid to walk away from those who don't. If you've ever had to fight for your peace, share your story below. Let's inspire each other to live free.